And when you look at what happened in the days around the interview of Flynn, you're just going to be flabbergasted. And I could read it at length here, but I'm just going to describe it, and you can go and verify. Hopefully, I got the story straight more or less. I've studied the documents pretty closely now. So as this document suggests, in early January of 2017, the FBI, after a really abusive spy operation against Flynn, based on the nothing conspiracy theory that there was Russia collusion, it was a falsehood, it was a smear. They all knew it was a smear, yet they investigated him anyway, hoping to catch him in something. They couldn't. And as I said, there was no viable case against General Flynn. And the text messages show that Peter Strzok, at the direction of the seventh floor, intervened to keep the case open. And by the seventh floor, I mean the leadership of the FBI, Comey and McCabe. Now, at the time of the what was going on also around that time, the President of the United States on January 5th, 2017, the day after they kept this operation open, he is having an Oval Office meeting, and I've talked about this meeting repeatedly because it's kind of key to understanding Obama's involvement. He discussed Flynn and the transcripts they allegedly had with the ambassador in the Oval Office with his leadership team, including Sally Yates and James Comey. Biden was there, others were there as well. And Yates, and this is material and testimony from Yates. This is not Tom Fitton describing Obama's being implicated here. This is Yates throwing Obama under the bus. She was surprised that he knew. And Obama kept them after the lengthier meeting about the fraudulent dossier that they were going to ambush Trump with the next day. So that's just more corruption that Obama was involved in with Comey. Obama kept Yates and Comey behind in the Oval Office, and he raised again the Flynn issue. And he talked about, weirdly, well, does this change how we're going to treat Flynn in the White House? Meaning the incoming White House. He was the incoming National Security Advisor. And Yates thought that was an unusual comment. And she put finally 2 and 2 together and realized that he was talking about the Logan Act. The Logan Act is a law that is basically a nullity now because it has never been enforced. I don't think the Justice Department has sought to enforce it since the middle of the 1800s. Yet when General Flynn was doing his job and talking to a Russian ambassador in the interregnum between the Trump and Obama administrations, they concocted this theory that he's not allowed to talk to foreign ambassadors like every other incoming foreign policy team would be expected to do. So it was purely pretextual. But getting back to Yates and Obama was the one pushing the Logan Act theory. Obama was the one pushing Comey to treat the White House differently than he would any other White House. And sure enough, Comey followed Obama's orders, more or less. Because Yates later testifies that, look, we've got this information about Flynn talking to the Russian ambassador. They were pretending to be concerned about it. We still don't know what's in it. They don't go to give us the transcript. They thought they should tell the incoming administration and the White House about it. Yates did. And Comey resisted doing so. And in fact, he did it over the objections. He resisted it over the objections of pretty much everyone else in the community. Even Brennan and Clapper supposedly tried to push him to tell them about it. And Brennan and Clapper basically backed off when Comey said, oh, no, it's an active criminal investigation. Yates says he varied and changed his explanations as to why he needed to keep it secret, because he went from it's a counterintelligence investigation to a criminal investigation. And so, but Yates was insistent that this take place. this communication take place. So she finally said, after Trump came into office, you need to tell him. And she went to call him, and he called him back later in the day and said, well, it's too late. I've got the guys going over to interview him. And they hit the ceiling over at the Justice Department, according to Yates' own testimony. But isn't it interesting how it all ties back to Obama? So there was this ambush interview set up in motion by Barack Obama through his minion, James Comey. And Yates describes it all, and it's described in these documents here. So Obama, when it comes to the seditious conspiracy against Trump, actuated through the attack on Flynn, Obama's responsible. Obama, and I used to joke about this in the first year or two of the Trump administration. I used to say, well, I'm waiting for the Trump administration to come to power because there were so many Obama holdovers resisting, and many of them still are, and running the show contrary to the wishes of the American people, and obviously what the elected president wanted to do. And here you literally had an example of it. You had Comey doing Obama's bidding in keeping the White House frozen out of the intelligence information they had about the National Security Advisor. And as Comey admitted, he bypassed the rules and secretly went to interview the National Security Advisor to the President of the United States without telling White House counsel lawyers or his Justice Department supervisors. Yeah, supervisors, because he works for them, not the other way around. By the way, the FBI is not, quote, an independent agency. It's an agency of the Justice Department. They report to the Justice Department, the director does in theory. And of course, all of them report to the President of the United States. So what I'm describing here is sedition. And I appreciate Sally Yates throwing Obama and Comey under the bus, but her hands aren't clean because she kept on pushing this Logan Act ridiculousness with the White House, and finally made it impossible for Flynn to continue working there because they alleged that Flynn had lied to Vice President Pence and who knows who else about what he said to the ambassador. And I don't know what he said to Pence. My guess is he didn't lie. My guess is he told them what he remembered. And was his memory perfect? I doubt it. Now, Vice President Pence thinks that maybe it was all a big misunderstanding. Look, they were all gamed by Comey and Sally Yates. So Sally Yates, the co-conspirator, turning in another co-conspirator who did additional crimes. It doesn't mean that Sally Yates is a great person. Remember, she got fired for trying to countermand and refusing to defend the president's initial travel ban, which is completely constitutional, and she decided she didn't like it and she wouldn't defend it, and that's why she got fired. Because she was the holdover acting attorney general. What a nightmare in the beginning of the Trump administration. And that's where the coup began. Now, this report, and I encourage you to read it, we have a link to it on our website, is important. I encourage you to read it completely. It's an indictment of James Comey. It's an indictment of Barack Obama. It is, though, only a partial review of the information or a partial admission. It's not a full-blown confession by the Justice Department and the FBI. They don't talk, for instance, I read it, maybe I missed it. They don't talk, as best I can tell, about the missing 302, the initial document that looks like it was edited by Strzok and Page. What happened to it? The 302, of course, is the FBI, the bureaucratic name for the narrative report created by FBI agents to document interviews with witnesses and targets. They didn't do that for Flynn initially, and they didn't get around to it till months later. So they don't explain that. They also don't explain the prosecutorial misconduct that withheld this information from General Flynn and his legal team for years. Do you think Flynn would have pled guilty if he knew about all this skullduggery? Of course not. That's what he testified to. He said, I wouldn't have pled guilty if I'd known about this. So as I kept on, when I said earlier, just remember this when you hear the juvenile leftists, the dishonest leftists say, oh, Flynn pled guilty. Why would you plead guilty if you weren't guilty? He was coerced. They were going after his son, and they kept that secretly, and I kept that secret improperly. And it was involuntary as a result. So he did not plead under the law properly. And secondly, it was not knowing. He didn't have all the information because the prosecutors and the FBI withheld it from him. What a miscarriage of justice. Look, I'm happy, believe it or not. I am so happy. This was one of the best days in terms of justice in at least the first three, this Trump administration. It's a great day. But I'm still angry. I just can't help it. I'm still ticked.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.